Welcome to this conversation. I have no idea where it will go, but I'm game. And fortunately, my friend and the great director, Jane Campion, is also game. She was kind enough to watch our movie, The Dead Don't Hurt, and agreed to have a chat about it.
We met really a very long time ago.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, on Portrait of a Lady when you were playing Caspar Goodwood.
Yeah.
In a way, that gypsy quality that you had even then as a younger human, the younger Viggo, it's really here in this movie, I think. It really feels to me like a personal film. This character of Olsen, I mean, you've put in a lot of biographical details. Can we talk a little bit, about how you came to decide or choose to do this story?
The first image I had was of this little girl, running around in the woods and sort of dreaming in the forest by herself. Very self-possessed, free-thinking girl. And then I immediately wanted to know who this was. This little girl was based on my mother, her character, her way of being. Like Vivienne in our story, my mother was very much a woman of her time, 1950s mother, housewife, but she was always very inquisitive and free in her thinking, and as much as possible in her movements and her actions. And she was the one who took me to the movies when I was 3, 4, and all her life we would go to the movies, and she would always talk about story.
Right.
And, even when I was very little, she would say, well, what do you think is going to happen if it was one of those long movies with an intermission? She'd say, what's going to happen now, do you think? And afterwards, it would always be long conversation. Well, why do you think that happened? But anyway, this little girl was based on her. And then I immediately wanted to know the results of things, the effects of things rather before the cause of things. So I thought, well, who is this girl? Who's she going to be? So I went right to the end of her life and then sort of built a story that way. Once I realized what her character was, I thought, here's a woman opening frontiers for herself, just personally, just by being herself.
It very much feels like a love story to me, but it's also sort of a love story about life and about a way of being in life or living in life where other paths are taken. Like, both these characters have a sense of nobility in a way. They have personal codes and they, are very attracted to each other's sort of, it's like finding a soulmate in a way for them. But they're not perfect soulmates because he's much more grubby and,
Clumsy.
It also made me think about Terrence Malick, Days of Heaven, because even though the stories are super different, there's such a deep romance in Terrence Malick's work. And I do think, Viggo, you probably maybe don't even know that about yourself. I think you're a practical dude, but you're very romantic, I think. And to come up with a character like Olsen and like Vivienne, it's such a beautiful, for me, unusual and wonderful thing to discover in a film.
Their relationship for me is a relationship of trust. I wanted to try to create, with the help of the actor and everybody else, a relationship that was more or less of equals. They weren't sort of superhumans. They were, it's a man very much of his time with his limitations.
Yeah.
And a woman of her time, the limitations that society puts on her. And the idea, when I say a relationship of trust, I mean that they may keep secrets like everybody does, and secret thoughts, desires to themselves, but they don't lie to each other. There's a scene and Vivienne says, well, I got a job too. And he says, oh, and he sort of doesn't understand. He sort of looks over at the clothesline where she's hung all the, this is your job. He's thinking, but he doesn't say it. And he says, well, why? And then she sees the look on her face. She goes, I mean, do you need it? And he's sort of backpedaling, but at least he's open to understanding her. And she's open to understanding him. I mean, that's why they're together. And I don't think either of them expected to find a person that was as odd, independent, and stubborn as they are.
I have a job in town at Candles.
Why? I mean, do you need it?
I have things I want to do as well. You didn't tell me, I didn't tell you. And I like to work and I like to earn my own money.
Vicki is so good in the movie. I mean, when you write something and you imagine, okay, I want to make a story.
How did you cast her? And did you always, I mean, I've always loved Vicki since I saw her. I don't know if it was the first thing, but in Phantom Thread.
Sure.
She's just such a fresh creature, like you don't feel like, I haven't seen this creature before.
Exactly.
And I always love what she does. Yeah.
I felt the same. And, she's always interesting, even when she plays smaller roles, you can't take your eyes off her. There's something
kind of captivating, isn't she?
Yeah.
And
it's almost like her thoughts and feelings seem to come through her skin almost,
Yeah, and there is inside her. I can't imagine her playing as a character who was conventional, for example,
Yeah, I think it would bore her probably, knowing her now. But no, I wrote this story not thinking of her or anybody else for that role or any other one. But I knew that I had a story which had a woman as the central character, which is unusual in a Western, even more unusual to stay with her when her male partner goes off to fight his.
To me, to be honest, though, I don't see it as, like I said, they seem to share the story, and it really is a romance,
Right. And so when I had
whatever you thought you were doing.
Well, no, when I had the story finished or first draft and was ready to show it to actors, I thought, well, she would be ideal. And she read it and reacted right away. She really liked it. And she said, she's from Luxembourg. And she said, well, where I grew up is very close to where, Joan of Arc, where things happened with her. And I grew up really liking her. And when I started as an actor, the first thing I did is I did a monologue where I was pretending to be her. And I said, wow. And she said, I really like this story and I'm interested in doing this. And when do you want to do it? And I said, when? And she said, yeah, I could do that.
I seek employment. Perhaps you need someone to help you serve the customers, or I can work behind the bar. Keep it tidy.
It's most commendable. However, we are not lacking for assistance on our day-to-day.
What a capital idea. That ought to liven up this drab establishment considerably.
What?
You're hired, darling.
Excuse me, I was talking to Mr. Kendall.
And then when I met her, every step, I liked her more and more. As soon as she said yes, I thought, okay, we have a chance to make a good movie with a really strong, free thinking woman at the center of the story. Because it's one thing you write something, you imagine this character that can transmit so much in silence between the words. You hope for all these things, and you hope for surprises also in that regard. But if you depending on the casting, if you don't get the right person, there's a limit to what you can do, no matter how clever you might be at telling a story. But we were lucky, you know, and that she said yes, and you know, all the other people as well. I wasn't gonna be in the movie because I'd done that the
You weren't
first
going to
movie.
be in the movie?
No.
So that
No.
wasn't, so you weren't attracted to playing this character yourself?
Well, I liked him, and he was going to be European, you know, he's going to be Scandinavian, but not Danish. And he was meant to be quite a bit younger, more her age, right?
Yeah.
And I got an actor that the financiers, along with Vicky, they said, yeah, that's fine, we'll put up the money for that. And he was with us for quite a long time. And I shared, you know, I said, here's a several Westerns to look at, or scenes. They're not very good movies, but I look at the details of how this person approaches the horse, look at this, look at that. Like I shared with the art department, you know, look at that lamp, look at this, you know, things, not just photographs from the period, but things that I could see in Westerns, things that I liked, even if they were bad movies. And so we had an ongoing communication, but unfortunately, not long before pre-production, I just indirectly found out, lawyer, agent, we just said, oh, he's going to do something else. Unfortunately, I'm like, oh shit. What do we do now? So I went out, tried with a couple of other actors who are that age range and type, you know, and I was open to changing to be, you know, Irish or something. It didn't matter. And they liked the story a lot. They loved the idea of working with Vicky, liked the idea of being in a Western, but they weren't available. And time was running out. I already had
Well,
the
I think
cast.
it's really, really good that you ended up playing the part.
I mean, it's just the way it is now. I don't think of it another way.
Olsen.
Just Olsen?
Just Olsen.
I said to the producers, well, they said, well, why don't you wait till next year? And when they're available, I said, well, I don't really trust that because financing falls away.
Yeah.
Often. And I also have a crew that's given their time and committed, and the rest of the
Yeah, and
actors.
it's very delicate, isn't it? God. Yeah.
It may never happen if I don't do it now. So I
Yeah.
said I could do it. It'll be more work, but I could do that. But I'll have to change the character, and I have to ask Vicky. You know, she's the one who has to play. Would have to play with me instead.
What'd she say?
I was like kind of chicken shit. You know, I called her and she goes, how's it going? Did so and so say yes? I said, no, not available. And I was sort of talking around it, trying to say it.
Yeah.
And she, why don't you do it? I said, well, that's what I was trying to get around to say. I said, are you sure? She goes, absolutely. I always thought you had something, you know, of him. And I said, well, I have to make him older. I'm going to put I had some dialogue that refers to that. But maybe it's okay. Maybe it'll be an interesting relationship with a young boy. And
not too perfect, you know.
right.
That you are older,
No,
yeah.
she liked it. So I said, okay, let's do it.
And you're so stupid.
So stupid. What if I don't wait for you, huh?
I'm a good soldier. They need me.
You're too old to go to war.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Like in the best of the old Westerns, I wanted the photography to be simple, even though, as you know, it's not simple to get that look. Simple and elegant, and to not really think about how the camera sees the landscapes. I wanted to see the places, and I wanted to see the people and the objects and the houses and everything.
Yeah, it's just natural, right?
Right. So you don't
I mean,
really
to
think a
achieve
lot.
natural is quite hard, actually, because, you know, it has to be relaxed, right?
And then if you're going to do a shot that's unusual, let's say it's a continuous shot, or there's a shot that's a top shot of her after something terrible happens, right? But if you place it in the right way, it doesn't draw attention to the camera. You're just, okay, yeah, I want to see her, and now I'm imagining everything that happened, which is even worse than if it had been shown. And it seems natural, depending where you place it. So you can do something special with the camera as long as you put it in the right place, and then it just feels organically part of what I'm learning about her, you know, in this story. And that was really important. And I thought the story's already different enough in terms of structure and how she is.
When you went talked about structure, you know, like the story keeps you quite busy trying to figure out like, oh, this happened before, and okay, where are we now? That's the bit that
Especially at
we're
the
caught up to
beginning.
this now, you know. Was this always part of the idea, or was this something that you kind of discovered in the edit room?
No, it's how I wrote it. There was a couple of things when I had all the material and started to work on the edit. There's a few scenes, really nice scenes, beautiful, which we also have, and you know, did the sound mix and the grading on it and everything, color correction. But you have to be kind of cruel. You have to be very cold about that, I think, especially if you've written it, and just say, yeah, it's great, but at a certain point, that's not right. That doesn't help it move forward. And so they're gone. But and it was just, and then maybe there's one or two things that just slight moving of things, but basically it's what I wrote. And I tried at one point, I said, okay, today I want to spend the whole day, I want to do an exercise, which is digital editing, and you can do things relatively. I said, let's just to get that nagging doubt out of my mind, let's put it together as a linear story, just to see. And I did that. I didn't like it very much. I didn't feel I learned about her in the same way. I do the way the movie is. You know?
We have a life together now. It is only beginning.
Vivienne, be my wife. Please.
You cannot make things right with a consolation prize.
Did you have a moment with your story when you went like, oh, I know why I'm making this?
I don't know if there was one moment, but the first thing we shot was I found a place in Ontario, Canada, across the lake from where my mother grew up. A slope that was exactly the same contours, the same trees, maples, red oaks. And we found this location, and it was October, so that in the northern hemisphere, obviously it's autumn, and colors were just right. And well, I remember we were going to shoot something first with when the father comes back from fishing in the canoe and the girl sees him. And then I said, how long will it take you to get that ready? It'll take a little while. I said, well, let's go over here. The horse is here. Let's just try to shoot something. Let's try to shoot the night coming down.
Yeah.
It was just the first day, and the place, that landscape felt right. And I kind of had I don't know if it's really accurate or even true at all, but I felt like with this place, it doesn't even matter if part of the shot turns out to be out of focus. I mean, this is the right place to be. We've chosen the right place. This is the right day. And it's cold, and I don't know, there's something about the sky. The place relaxed.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is the way, this is the place to be right now, and this is what we're supposed to be doing. And I'm not really worried about anything. I don't know why. And that's how we began. Good way
It
to
sounds
start.
fantastic. It's like one of those body memories that
Yeah.
gives you that deep inner confidence, even if you don't even understand it. It's the way to go, I reckon. It makes you feel.
It was a
sure.
strange, almost like a furthering of the essence of my mother in a funny way. Like I was my mother for a moment.
Yeah, nice.
Just but in a funny way. I was like, okay, this is how she looked at things. Maybe that's
And do you feel like when you're writing that you put yourself in, you know, your characters' places, like your mom's and
sure.
the Vivienne character? Yeah, you have
Absolutely.
it in a Vivienne. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed learning about her as I was writing it, because I didn't have I kind of I had the end, more or less, and the very beginning, and then it was like, okay, I have to get to there somehow, and I enjoyed that process.
So sad, no trees.
There are many trees.
Not here. No flowers, no garden at all. So sad. You live like a dog.
Happy dog. From the really talented directors I've worked with, including you, there's two things that I found, the main two things I've learned is you can't prepare enough for the shoot. You can't. It's impossible. You can't overdo that. And secondly, probably the most important thing is, even if you have a very clear idea of what you want to do, how you want to shoot it, how you imagine the character should be, how things should look, a good idea can come from anyone at any time. And even if it's an annoying suggestion or you're not in agreement, it may stimulate another thought. So just remain open to that, because you got one shot to tell the story or one shot to shoot that scene, you know. And I said, both movies, I've said at the beginning, I said, don't come to me tomorrow with some brilliant idea about the scene we're shooting today, because it'll be too late, you know. Feel free, go. And
that's the problem, because I always have my best ideas like a day afterwards, you know.
I know it's terrible. No, I drive myself crazy too, but that's the way it is. But at least other people can maybe help you make some shortcuts or some improvements. And
they do, yeah. Sometimes I think there's a real strength and curiosity about someone's mind just being really over everything. And it's exciting. Their ideas are so interesting. You just want to go along with them, because it actually figured it out, you know, rather than someone going like, oh, this is a big confusion, you know. Anyone got an idea what to do?
I mean, I'm stubborn. I have a plan, and I have obviously got my hands in every pot in this movie, you know, as far as.
Come on, Viggo, you went to set every day without a clue what to do.
No, but I'm saying as far as sometimes that's true about certain things, but no, but the music and how it should look.
Oh my God, that's another thing we haven't talked about, that you actually wrote the music for this. I mean, I was like flabbergasted.
But you still do that with other people, you know. Once, I have a melody and I'm working with the musicians, and they go, well, what about this instead? And you're like, yeah, okay. I mean, you know what I mean? It's still a collaborative thing.
Yeah.
Music, I don't like it when the music, or the writing either, but when the music tries to tell me in a movie what I should think. Oh, you should be scared now, you should feel sad, you should. I like it if it complements or it helps things along. And if you're shooting something that's non-linear, like this movie, I knew beforehand that music would help me make some of those transitions, those jumps, you know, like when you see
you do, they did,
the boy, boom, boom, boom. And so that's why most of it was composed and recorded months before we shot the movie.
Oh, that's really helpful. I love that. Yeah, I love to have the music before you begin, because I think in a way then there's a real possibility for it to have its own
have you done
character and personality, you know, like not to just.
Have you done that a lot?
Since I did the piano, because I had to have it before with Michael Nyman, I've done it every time, because it just feels really tough the other way around when you're trying to write to the film, you know. It feels like it really bamboozles composers. It doesn't make them feel free at all, you know, like there's this and you know what you really want from music is a fresh voice in it.
Yeah, for
and
me it helped me with I mean, the first movie I did, it's less complex than music, but that was just a lucky accident, because I was waiting 4 years. I had the script, I had the main actor, who fortunately hung with me all that time. And I was just restless. I wanted to do something. I said, well, what would the music be? Where do I need music? Not a lot of it, but what do I need? And so it was accidental. And then I found it was helpful.
Yeah. Do you play any instruments or?
Yeah. I mean, I composed on the piano. Yeah. And then I played a couple other ones on certain pieces.
What instruments do you play?
Piano is my main one, yeah, and I
Right.
played a little bit of guitar and some percussion and
Yeah.
things. Mine is in this movie, but the heart of this score is obviously the cellist and the violinist. I love the fact that you make a movie, and then when the first person sees your movie, it doesn't matter who they are, then it's their movie, and they
Yeah.
have every right to see what they see in it, obviously. And I like movies that are that way. I don't like the director to tell me everything, to explain it, to manipulate me. I like to be able to build a story myself, and then at the end, to ask myself, now what happens, you know? But I don't like coming, you know, when people say, well, you obviously were referencing, I don't know what, or you're comparing modern day politics, or you know, or you're referencing this and that Western, a particular scene. I said, I mean, I know there are directors who not only consciously do that, but then love to talk about it in interviews. Oh, this is an homage to such and such a director, or this is an exact copy of that scene. That's fine. Sometimes they do a good job and the movie's good, but it's not, I don't think it's either good or bad. Doesn't interest me, because I can't direct an idea. And you can certainly not act an idea or a concept. You can have some thoughts, you know. Yes, I knew I was making a Western. It was unusual for a woman to be at the center, and for her to stay with her when the guy goes off, because I wanted to explore what little girls and women, what do they?
Can we
what do
talk
they
about
do?
that even for a little bit? Like, you know, that you wanted to tell a story about a woman is, it's kind of unusual. And, you know, as a woman, I actually really appreciate it. But are women muses for you in a way? Is there a way that you find the female spirit kind of, well, like you talk about your mother a lot, you know, that there's a sense in females in your life that they do hold some treasures or secrets or strengths, or
I know within myself, you know, that side seems to be, I just think of it as, generally speaking, I mean, there's all kinds of women. Obviously, there are women who are sociopaths and who are selfish and cruel, but generally,
but the ones that you know.
no, but I mean, generally speaking,
Yeah.
that sort of energy, I just
Yeah.
find that side of me, or what I see in women that I connect with, is common sense. There's a certain common sense that has to do with getting things done or communicating in a more open way, in a more positive way. It's just common sense. It's more productive, and it's based on a certain amount of curiosity about the world and about people, rather than trying to own or dominate.
This is it?
Yes.
The place you chose of all the places you have seen.
Yes.
Why?
It's quiet.
So I just want to thank you, Viggo, and thank you for the conversation, the chance to chat about your process and film. And I love you.
Thank you for your generosity. I love you. And when you walk on the beach down there in Pucaro Bay, if you do,
I'll send you a picture.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
Love your
All right.
country.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See ya.